Star Trek, the ultimate franchise. These are the podcasts of the Wakefield brothers. Their 16-year mission to watch every production, to seek out life lessons and new inspirations, to boldly watch like most fans have watched before. Welcome back to Temporal Directive, the Star Trek fan podcast rewatching the entire franchise in chronological order. I'm Gary.
And I'm Tom.
And this week, we're watching Star Trek Enterprise's Shuttlepod One. But first... some Star Trek announcements this week out of New York City Comic Con. First up, we have a premiere date for the direct-to-streaming movie Section 31. Set to premiere on January 24th, 2025, which means, of course, we'll have a special episode to discuss it when it comes out. I don't think it looks great, but I guess we'll see when January 4th gets around. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I mean, we'll watch it. I'm looking forward to having something to watch. But, yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't look fantastic at all.
I didn't think it looked good, but...
yeah, it looks kind of bad. But
I was hoping they'd get another trailer, but we didn't get that. Just the date.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see. We'll see. January 24th isn't too far away,
I'd
sadly.
like to say that I'd go in with it without judgment, but judging on that trailer, I don't know whether I can do that.
I'm judgy already.
Yeah.
And also in news, the upcoming Starfleet Academy series has been so well received by the Paramount executives that it has been greenlit for a second season already, midway through filming the first season. Still no word on a release date, but I do remember reading somewhere that the sets were the biggest and most expensive sets ever created for Trek. So I was kind of expecting that they would do at least 2 seasons, because why would you invest all that money if you weren't going to do more than 1 season?
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you'd think that. Although, yeah, did you see how much they spent on Dark Crystal? No, they spent a shit ton. I don't know how much. I'd have to look it up how much exactly they spent, but it was a fuck ton, because it's all that Jim Henson style puppetry stuff. So it was all these sets, and there was no real digital animation at all, really. Just a little bit of touch up stuff, but mostly it was all just hand done buildings and
traditionally
stuff. Yeah, so it was just a fortune, and they just done the 8 episodes of the first season, and that's it. They didn't go back and do this.
Was it not
anymore.
well received?
Well, I think it was actually quite they got enough of it, but typical Netflix, not quite enough for their liking, so they didn't do the second season.
Fair enough.
Very disappointed.
All right. Well, that's it for Trek news, actually. There was only those 2 things out of New York Comic Con. There was a couple of other little things, but nothing really of note. So those were the 2 big pieces of news out of New York City Comic Con. Yeah, cool.
Nice.
So what's been happening this week, Tom?
Not much. Not much this week. I'm still unemployed. That's unfortunate, but I'm looking for work. So... it's very exciting looking at all the job websites and everything. So fun.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Updating my resume with nothing new. But I have been building. When I was in Japan, I bought these little. I don't know what they actually call them traditionally, but they're little wood models of things.
Okay.
So you got to put them all together. Obviously, glue them together, and I don't know how to describe it really, but you just put them together and make little scenes.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Little lights and everything in them, and
Cute.
it's a lot of fun, but it takes a day or 2 to put them together. So I've been doing that this week with the ones that I brought back from Japan. So
nice.
That's pretty cool. Filling in time.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Well, as you know, I was at the Rocky Horror Picture Show screening that Northwest Pride here in Tassie was running.
Yep.
A 4th annual Rocky Horror interactive screening, which was a lot of fun. But you were there.
Yeah, I
was
was
there.
Yep, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Always is.
so I made a little bit of money for the charity that I run. Not a huge amount, but a few $100 extra in the bank for after singing and dancing and throwing some confetti around and making a mess of the cinema.
Huge mess.
Yeah, it
Always
was a bit of a mess.
massive mess.
But yeah, it was good fun. But yeah, other than that, it's been a pretty quiet week, just working and working and working.
Yeah. It is good to see the weather coming good though. Like that, it's finally.
So nice.
Yeah.
Except for I actually got sunburned.
Did you?
I know. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. I got sunburned in Tasmania in October. That never happens.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, let's get into this week's episode. This week's episode is Shuttlepod One, written by the creators, Rick Berman and Brannon Braga, directed by David Livingston, his second directing effort for Enterprise so far, and veteran of Trek. This episode aired February 13th, 2002, and the IMDb synopsis reads, while returning to Enterprise in Shuttlepod One, Trip and Reed see apparent evidence that the ship has been destroyed. With only days of oxygen left, they must find a way to survive long enough for rescue. That's it.
Yeah, okay. That's all right. Reed will shoot at something.
You don't remember this one?
No.
Interesting note. The two interesting trivia notes that I found while getting that together. This is Enterprise's first bottle episode.
Ah, okay.
And is the only episode of Star Trek, any series, to not feature any actors other than the regular cast. So there's not one single guest star that does anything at all in this episode.
Okay, wow.
So apparently that is unique.
Wow, right, okay.
Which I guess might be true. It seemed like an odd thing at this point. Like Star Trek had been on for a very long time by the time this episode aired.
Yeah.
So
it really makes you think, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Wait.
There's got to be an
Does an episode with Picard was on the ship by himself? No, there was terrorists.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how my brain's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So mostly even the bottle episodes and all of the smaller episodes still have guest stars, except apparently this one.
Wow. I'm gonna have to look into that just myself.
Okay. Well, trust IMDb, Tom, or Wikipedia, or wherever the fuck I found that information.
Don't always trust the internet, Gary.
The internet wouldn't lie to me, Tom. The internet would never tell me fiction.
The truth is out there.
All right, let's go watch it.
Alrighty.
And we're back from watching Shuttlepod One. First impressions, Tom. What did you think of this one?
I actually didn't mind this one at all. This was actually quite good.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty solid, really.
Yeah.
And finally, Reed did something.
Finally.
Reed actually had character instead of just wanting to blow things up.
Yeah. Or what his favourite fucking food is.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Exactly. All right, let's get into it. We open on the shuttle pod. I assume it's Shuttlepod One. In a asteroid field, and they're looking for Enterprise, who is supposed to be in there mapping the asteroid field. But they say that they've been there. They've arrived at the asteroid field 3 days earlier than expected, and the shuttle has lost its sensors. The comm is down. Yeah, so they're talking, and Reed says something to Trip about getting the boys to do the repair work when they get back to Enterprise. The boys? There's no women on the engineering team?
No.
It's men only?
Men only
Okay.
engineering. Mm-hmm.
Apparently it's more backwards in the future than it is now.
Haven't they said it before as well? They often refer to the boys in the
boys in engineering.
Oh.
Fucking sexist. While they're talking, they also Reed also mentioned something about British schools and how they have proper education, unlike that North American lot that are always reading comic books.
Oh, come on. Even he says that Superman is like laced with
subtext upon subtext.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Clearly, we don't have global education yet. But
how far in the future is it? And they're still having issues with American education system.
Yeah.
At least they went to the metric system.
They did, finally.
Yeah. So what caused this catastrophic failure? I mean, it's a pretty big system failure, isn't it?
Well, I'm assuming it was the micro-singularities that
Yeah.
they talk about later on.
I suppose. But, like, to take out both systems, like, in such a big way without knowing anything, that I suppose if the sensors were gone, I just realised
They don't have sensors.
I can't actually
They've
see
also
what it was.
never heard, they don't believe that micro-singularities are real.
It's all a big fictional thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. I retract my statement.
So while they're traveling through the asteroid field, they find a big pile of wreckage on one of the asteroids, but with no sensors or anything, they can't scan it to find out what it is. But they find 01 printed in the Enterprise font on part of the wreckage. And obviously we find out later that it is part of the ship. It is part of Enterprise.
Yeah.
But they assume that Enterprise has been destroyed because of the amount of wreckage, even though there's just that one little bit of the Enterprise there. But I think it's probably fair to say that that's a reasonable assumption to make with that amount of wreckage.
Yeah, it was a huge amount of wreckage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you would have that reaction.
Yeah, so they are shocked and assume the Enterprise is destroyed. And then it cuts to the theme song, which we skip again, as always.
Thank fuck.
Then we cut to the Enterprise flying in space, not crashed. And we cut to Archer in his ready room, and Hoshi enters for the exposition dump of why Reed and Trooper are alone in a shuttle. And really, she spills a whole lot of stuff, and I wrote down all these notes, but really, they're taking some aliens home.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and it explodes
There was
before it attaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it has issues. Probably a micro singularity.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're taking some aliens home, and that's why they're abandoned.
Yeah.
The shuttle is abandoned.
Yeah.
The rest of it doesn't matter because we never meet these aliens.
No.
We don't ever talk about anything to do with it ever again. So who cares? It's just an excuse to get the two people alone in a shuttlecraft.
Yeah.
Shuttle pod.
Yeah.
Shuttlecrafts are not till the future. There's a quick little scene of Archer and T'Pol inspecting the damage to Enterprise. Basically, one of the shuttle pod door area things is fucked. And T'Pol mentions that it could have been micro-singularities that had caused the damage. And Archer says that they're a Vulcan myth, that Vulcans would blame micro-singularities for the common cold if they could.
He was very eye rolling and everything, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He done it well.
Real dismissive.
Yeah, he was like, whatever.
Micro-singularities.
Bigfoot done it.
Vulcans and their stupid theories.
Because Vulcans are known to be outlandish.
Oh, yeah. They're always making shit up. We cut to Trip and Reed in the shuttle pod realizing that they're fucked. Yep. Basically, they've got 10 days worth of air, no communication, no sensors. They're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Suddenly, space is a scary thing because there's no hope. Without Enterprise, there's just nothing. They're too far away from anything to reach at an impulse. They're weeks or months away from
even the Echo
Echo 3. So they're just fucked.
Yeah.
So they decide to aim for the direction of Echo 3 with their distress beacon signaling and hope that eventually they'll find the shuttle pod and Starfleet will get the shuttle pod back and a couple of well-preserved corpses. But they don't really know which direction to go because navigation's out. So they kind of think they came from the direction of the blue giant planet or whatever and head that way.
Yeah.
So before they go, they do one last pass over the Enterprise wreckage to say farewell, Captain. That was me rolling my eyes.
I noticed.
Funny. Cut to commercial, and then we're back with Reed recording a personal log to recount all the stuff that led up to the destruction of the Enterprise. And he explains why Shuttlepod One was out anyway. So they were doing some testing on the weapons or some shit. Who cares? Doesn't matter. They were out there.
Well, it doesn't.
What?
It doesn't matter. I know. It's just
this episode is an episode about survival. It doesn't. The setup doesn't really matter. There's so much exposition about it, but whatever.
Yeah,
who cares?
It's got to be inserted so that you have a reason to.
Yeah, they have to put it there.
Yeah.
But we don't have to talk about it because
it's irrelevant. Yeah.
So Trip is trying to work and repair the sensors and the communications, and he's getting frustrated because Reed is just being pessimistic. He's resigned to the fact that he's going to die, and Trip is just really frustrated because he's an optimistic kind of guy. He's like, no, we've got 9 days. Anything could happen. The Klingons could show up, the Romulans, or anyone could show up. Like
Andorians, come on.
Anyone.
Ferengi?
The possibilities are endless. Yeah, the fucking Ferengi.
Not that he said Ferengi, but
No, he didn't.
yeah, but they're out there.
They decide to eat some rations, have a meal. They find a bottle of Kentucky bourbon.
Which just makes no sense to be there whatsoever. No.
Nope.
None.
But, I mean, it's good because
it's a good...
delicious.
Yeah. Thank fuck they had it, really.
Yeah. They also have the microwave from Back to the Future too. Apparently that's been installed on the Shuttlepod as well.
I think I just want to stick the whole thing in my mouth.
There's a shot of the shuttle to show you the passing of time.
Yeah.
And then we cut back into the shuttle and Reed is recording now another letter to his parents to say farewell. And Trip is trying to sleep and he's getting frustrated again. He's really angry because he just does not shut the fuck up. And so interrupts Reed's letter to his parents and asks his parents if he's always been this cynical.
Yeah, well, he has been at it for hours, to be fair.
Yeah, that's right.
You've got 9 days left. You could take a fucking break.
Yeah. That's right.
Get a couple of hours sleep. You'll use less oxygen. Just shut the fuck up for a couple of hours.
I don't disagree. And Reed says something about, by the time you realise that you're going to die out here, maybe you would have liked to have done the same. Or maybe you will do the same, and I won't interrupt you. Whoa. So clearly, they're both having some reactions to imminent death and very different reactions to each other.
Very opposite. Now, what were you thinking throughout that?
What do you mean?
Would you be recording or would you be trying to sleep?
I don't know. If I was by myself, I'd probably do both, right? Because the recording letters is talking, so you can talk and fix things at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you're happy to sort of, if you've got someone else there doing recordings anyway, you don't really have to worry about it?
I don't know. I feel like I'd be pretty rational. I'm a pretty rational kind of person.
Yeah, I think I would probably be the same. I think I'd just be like, shut the fuck up and let me rest. And just try and work to do something to make it work.
Yeah. We cut to a black screen and there's some sick bay beeping. Reed wakes up on Enterprise in the sick bay and Archer's there saying basically that Reed is a hero for saving Trip. T'Pol's there as well, but everyone else leaves. Trip's in the bed next to Reed, but he's unconscious. T'Pol's there and there's some flirting. She praises him for being so brave, and he makes a little joke, and she smiles, and he's like, "This scene just went too long."
Call me stinky.
So stupid.
It was so dumb. Like,
we figured out what was going on as soon as everyone else left, and he was alone with Trip. Well, he was alone with T'Pol.
Yeah,
we knew this was a dream.
Yeah, instantly,
and it went on way too long.
Yeah.
And the last thing we need is more T'Pol being a sex object.
Yeah, exactly. It's unnecessary. Completely unnecessary.
Yep. So he wakes up from this dream and Trip has repaired the comm receiver. So now they can receive messages. They still can't send anything. And there's some crackling, some noise or whatever. And he says it's probably just white noise. There's probably nothing out there. The shuttle pod shakes and there's a breach. They're losing oxygen. So they're trying to find out where it's coming from. Trip has the idea to fill the cabin with gas and see where it's leaving, which was a good idea.
That was a great idea.
And then they plug it up with mashed potato.
Which was a dumb idea.
Mashed potato. They plugged a hole into space with mashed potato.
Yep. Yeah, it's the saviour of the universe. Mashed potato.
Wow.
To be fair, we did see them a few seconds later, or a scene change later. They were using the proper stuff to seal them.
Yes, I know.
Yes, but
I'm just saying,
yes,
mashed potato.
Ridiculous.
I would have thought mashed potato would get sucked into space.
Yeah, almost instantly. Like it wouldn't do a DM thing. Although, well, actually, no, it might do depending on the sizes of chunks of potato, I suppose.
Oh, so just to clarify here, the very important contention here.
Yeah.
It was mashed potato, not pureed.
That's it, exactly. that's the difference.
That's the saving grace.
Exactly.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, it wasn't none of that Deb shit.
Not pureed potato.
None of that powdered potato crap.
Anyway, whatever they hit, they say that it also ruptured one of the oxygen cylinders, so now they've only got 2 days worth of air left. While they're filling in the breaches with the proper solvent or whatever the fuck they were using, they do reflect that the hull plating is meant to deflect meteors of that size, and so clearly whatever hit them was not a meteor. So I'm assuming microsingularity, like we were talking about.
Yep. Now, just a question.
Yes.
What are they? Because I'm assuming that the Enterprise D, let's say, because it's the one I'm thinking of, but I'm assuming Enterprise D has a similar plating over it constantly.
I don't know. I assume.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's just like permanently deployed, like it's just what it's made out of, essentially.
Maybe.
But they have a shield going constantly.
The Enterprise D?
Yeah, have a shield going constantly, the deflector shield.
Yes.
So that stops all the meteorites and everything they go through,
Correct.
right? That's correct. Do you remember what that's called?
The deflector shield?
Well, it's not called the deflector shield. There's something. It's called something else. I remember.
I think they call it a deflector shield.
Yeah, I know it's. They use the deflector, and it's called a deflector shield for that.
Yes.
But I know that the actual asteroid deflector that they have is actually called something else, but I can't remember what it was called.
I don't think so.
Right. Okay. I'll look it up later.
They have a deflector shield,
Yes.
which deflects everything,
Yes.
and they have their normal shield.
Yeah. I'm
That is
aware.
it.
I'm aware.
There is not a third shield system.
All right. All right. That's all right. I'm fairly sure he mentions the other shield that I'm talking about when they're confronted with an alien ship and they scan it, and he goes, "That wouldn't get past our whatever the word I'm trying to think of shields," which was like deflector shield, but it wasn't actually that word.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I said I'll look it up.
Well, you get back to us on that. You can tell us next week.
Yeah.
So we come back from commercial, and the boys are talking about their past, and they realise that they both had the same girlfriend,
Ruby.
waitress at a bar. Yeah. Reed starts shaving, and Trip says, "Why bother? Because your beard is going to keep growing when you're dead anyway," which is false.
Yeah.
You'd think that they would know better in the future, but
Yeah.
apparently not. And then they talk about maybe cutting down the heat to save oxygen, to reroute power to make it more efficient.
Yeah.
So drop the temperature, and they might be able to get another half a day out of the air.
Even
so they
though-
decide to do that.
Even though they will freeze.
Yes, it'll be very cold. -5, I think they said.
Yeah.
-5 degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit for those listening in the US. Celsius. Look it up. Cut to Archer in the ready room. T'Pol enters and shows Archer evidence of the microsingularities. And she's very excited about the prospect of this new discovery and proof and all that sort of stuff. And he's like, I'm more worried about Trip and Reed. And she says, I didn't mean to imply that I don't care about them. I'm just sorry.
Yeah, my bad.
As far as I'm concerned, they're expendable for science.
Yeah, that's right. This huge discovery.
We cut back to the boys in the shuttle, and the windows are frozen over, and Trip and Reed are dressed in their hats and jackets now because it's starting to get chilly. Reed is still recording letters, this time to different women. He finishes one to one girl and then starts another one to another girl. And Trip says, this is the exact same letter you've recorded 5 or 6 times. Like, wouldn't it be easier to just record the same message and just change the name of the girl?
So dumb.
Yeah, it's a bit silly, but anyway, it's fine. And Trip reflects on how young Hoshi and Travis were before the Enterprise got destroyed. But you can tell he's still staying optimistic, and Reed's still resigned to the fact of the matter that he's going to die soon. And then they get into a bit of a argument, I guess. They tend to argue a fair bit in this when they're
sort
talking.
of back and forth.
And Trip says, how about we have a drink? And pulls out the bourbon and basically orders Reed to have a drink. They light a candle for the mood. And Trip raises a glass to the men and women of the Starship Enterprise. And this is where Reed starts to properly open up a little bit and says, is that really how you see me, like the eternal pessimist? And then he says that he never really got close to any of those girls that he was writing those letters to, or his family, and that the Enterprise crew was the closest he's felt to people for a long time, and he just started to feel really comfortable with them, and that the loss of Enterprise is kind of the loss of everything for him. So Trip blows the candle out and says, suddenly 5 or 6 more minutes sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Clearly, a bromance is blossoming. We get a shot of the shuttle from the outside to show time passing again. And we come back and the guys are huddled together under blankets next to each other, slurring their words. The bottle is 3/4 gone. This is so silly. Reed starts talking about T'Pol being pretty and how she's got a nice bum. And just this to me, like the scene played okay, but I just didn't buy him being drunk.
No, I know, I didn't either.
Like Trip was fine.
Yeah.
But the guy playing Reed, I just didn't buy that he was drunk. It was just too much, maybe.
Yeah, it was a bit too comedic, a bit too cartoonish. Yeah, it was too much.
Yeah, it was too much. They drink to Sub Commander T'Pol's bum, basically. And then they start to hear noise on the comm receiver, and it's Hoshi. And Reed says that this is like a plane flying over the ocean in one of those Lost at Sea movies, and that's exactly the setup, right? It's exactly like one of those. It's a very apt description.
Yeah, very much so.
Reinforces that, like, space is scary. Space is scary.
Yeah, doesn't take much.
No. But the message from the Enterprise is that they want to change the rendezvous point, but they're still 2 days away, and they only have 1 day of air left, and no way to communicate that they need them to get here sooner.
Wouldn't that just, like, hit you in the face?
Like, yeah, Enterprise. Oh, shit.
Fuck.
We cut to commercial, and the boys are trying to figure out how to make the oxygen last 2 days, or to get Enterprise's attention to come back quicker. Finally, they decide, under Reed's suggestion, to jettison the engine and blow it up, and hopefully that'll show up on T'Pol's sensors. Trip's initially
not for long.
Yeah, not keen on that.
He's against it, but he changes his mind pretty
quick.
Have you ever held your breath for 11 hours?
And then without the engines, he's talking about how he'll be going at a snail's pace. And once the engine's gone, Reed says, how does it feel travelling at the speed of a snail or something? And Trip has that joke about the two.
Was
it the two snails on the back of a turtle, and one of them looks at the other and says, "Hold on, Fred, here we go."
Yeah, it was so good. I loved it.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
There's another shot of time passing, and we come back and everything is pretty much frozen over. They've got 10 hours of air left. They're huddled very closely together to stay warm, and they're drinking the last of the bourbon. And they're talking about how if one of them wasn't there anymore, they'd have the one person left would have 20 hours of air. So Trip says, I might just go up into that airlock. And Reed's like, oh, well, you do that. Any last words?
Yeah, that's it. What do you want me to tell him?
But he thought it was all theoretical. But then Trip starts climbing up the ladder and they get into a bit of a... They get into a discussion about don't be so stupid. Like, I would rather us both survive or we both go.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to work. Reed threatens to shoot Trip.
Yeah, grabs a phaser.
Yeah.
Which is kind of ridiculous, really, grabbing a phaser, like threatening to shoot him. I know he was like, it's on stun, but like, you know, just like I said, actually, I think I said it out loud, is, well, why don't you just stun both of you and then you'll both be using less oxygen and you'll both last longer? Like, that would be a better option, right?
Yep. Anyway, they decide to ride or die. Is that how? That's the expression, right?
That's the one.
So they're bromance ride or dying, and so they're shaking and shivering together, huddled up, and then it cuts to black, and there's beeping in sickbay, just like in Reed's dream. And Archer's there and says that when they found them, they had 2 or 3 hours of oxygen left. It took them 3 hours to get their body temperatures back up to normal, and yeah, that's about it. Reed talks to T'Pol to try to make sure that it's not the same dream, but that's the end. So they're both in sickbay, and Reed says, "Sleep well, my friend," to an unconscious Trip, and then the credits roll, and that's it.
That's it.
So now that we talked through it, what did you think?
It was a good episode. It was a good episode. I actually quite enjoyed it. And running over it again, yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, I think the character development for these two was really good. I think putting these two together was a good idea because they haven't had any... I don't think they've had any real scenes together at all.
Not really.
At least just the two of them.
No, not any major ones. Only a couple of short sequences.
And I think Reed and Travis... and Trip and Travis had both had some time together, but it never really felt like it gelled. But these two seem to work well together. I think this will be the start of a budding bromance. Maybe. I don't know. Don't remember. Yeah. Anyway, life lesson time. What's the life lesson in this one? Never give up. Never surrender.
Fuck, that's a good movie. I was going to say always have backups for your systems, but...
You always make a sarcastic comment.
Wow, sorry. Well, I suppose... I suppose never give up, never surrender is probably a good one, actually. Fits quite well. Well, that's kind of all there is because it's a bottle episode. There's not really much more to learn rather than to have hope. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Never give up, never surrender. Yeah. Because, I think this episode is very much a survival episode, and the key to survival is hope. Absolutely.
Yeah, simple.
IMDb rating for this week. For those listening at home, our examples of 1 episodes are Voyager's Threshold and Next Gen's Code of Honor. Examples of 10 episodes are Next Gen's Tapestry and DS9's Far Beyond the Stars. What are we going to rate this week's episode, Tom?
Well, I'm actually going to go quite high. Because the Andorian incident was 8, right?
We gave that an 8. Dear Doctor was a 9.
Yeah, I'm going to go with I would be happy to put it at about an 8. or a 9 myself.
Yeah, I would say 8.
Yeah.
And I would have said 9 if they didn't have that stupid Temporal stuff.
Yeah, and that's probably is a pullback on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's 8. 8 I am happy with.
All right. Shuttlepod One is listed as an 8. Too easy. All right. Well, I guess that's it for this week. We'll be back next week with the episode Fusion. But before that, Lower Decks returns this week with season 5, the final season of Lower Decks.
Yeah.
So our plan is to record a special episode each week as the new episodes are released, dependent on our work commitments and life commitments and all those other things. This is a really busy time of year for us. So we're going to try to fit it in as best we can to release the special episodes as soon as possible to the release of the episodes. But they might be a little bit sporadic. So just keep an eye on our Facebook and Instagram page. Our Facebook page is Temporal Directive Podcast and Instagram just Temporal Directive. Or you can email us at wakefield_productions@outlook.com, and you can talk to us about Lower Decks, Enterprise, or anything Star Trek related. We'd love to hear from you. All right, we'll see you next week. Live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.